You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com, the ChrisVossShow.com. Hey, welcome to the big show, friends and family. We certainly appreciate you guys being here. The Chris Voss Show, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mother-in-law. Anyway, guys, now go clean your room, will you? Anyway, be sure to subscribe to the show, refer it to your family, friends, tell them to sign up at youtube.com/Chris Voss, goodreads.com/Chris Voss, and LinkedIn/Chris Voss. See the big LinkedIn newsletter, the big 130,000 group over there as well. Today, we're going to be talking about marketing and what's going on in the future and kind of maybe what the future holds in 2023, since we're kind of at the beginning of it, and where marketing is going, et cetera, et cetera. Today we have Daniel on the show with us. Daniel is going to be talking to us about his company, Mint Performance Marketing, and we're going to be discussing it with him as well. And Daniel James is on the show with us today. He is the founder and CEO at Mint Performance Marketing. Mint is a full-service performance marketing agency based in LA, whose mission is to accelerate growth for disruptive DTC and e-commerce brands through cutting-edge strategies across creative, influencer marketing, paid social, paid search, email, and SMS. He's been part of the digital social media landscape since 2004. He's led strategy at companies including MySpace, AOL, and Turn for some of the world's most successful companies. In 2019, Mint Performance Marketing was acquired by Social Change, a world-leading social media and e-commerce group in 2021. Welcome to the show, Daniel. How are you?
Thank you, Chris. Great intro, by the way. Really appreciate the rundown. Great to be here. Excited to chat with you today. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Give us your .com, where you want people to find you guys on the interwebs and get to know you better.
Yeah, so the agency is mint-performancemarketing.com. And then I'm most active on LinkedIn. So just search my name, LinkedIn. I've committed to daily posting this year. So dropping marketing tips, leadership tips, marketing insights and trends. So those are the best places to find me.
There you go. LinkedIn is really turning into something. In fact, on September 15th, or not September, what year am I in? What age am I? It's Friday, clearly. The brain's gone on vacation already. February 15th, LinkedIn is expanding its a newsletter, which we've really loved. We put one out. It's expanding the newsletter so that it's open to the public, as opposed to being hidden to just your connections and people that you're linked to in LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's a great platform. It's a great platform, and I think more and more creators are posting on it. It's got great organic reach. It's still in that, there's the supply and demand is at the right level to still be able to do some meaningful things before that diminishes. So yeah, it's a great platform.
Yeah, we're really excited because our newsletter has been pretty successful over there, using the LinkedIn newsletter feature and everything else we do over there. And the fact that they're going to make it so that other people, the public can see our newsletter is awesome. Because we have great guests like yourself on, and brilliant podcasts and stuff. So them being able to see it, I think that's going to be freaking huge. So if you're not doing a newsletter on LinkedIn, my advice to you is don't do a newsletter on LinkedIn, because you're going to compete with ours. Anyway, so what got you into marketing? What entered you in this space? You've been in it for quite some time.
It was kind of by accident, if I'm honest with you. I went to music college, and I was in a band when I was younger, lead singer, guitarist. I had aspirations of being the next Kurt Cobain. Didn't quite the good side of Kurt Cobain, the music and the talent,
the non-heroin.
Yeah, I was gonna give that a miss probably. So I was in a band, and I mean, looking back, not trying to rewrite history, one of the things I was really good at with the band was marketing ourselves, like creative shoots, doing photo shoots, how we did album artwork. And the way I kind of knew about MySpace back in, it was like 2004, was we created a MySpace page for our band. I got an opportunity for a very entry-level position at MySpace at the time. I was like, oh, I know about MySpace. It was not very well known at the time. They kind of took a chance on me, and at that time, you did a bit of everything at MySpace. So it was really good to be able to soak up loads of knowledge across the team there. And I became obsessed with this idea of creating really cool shit online to help brands reach consumers. And I just became obsessed at that point with the idea of marketing and just consumer psychology and social media and digital marketing media. And so from that point on, just completely bitten by it and just immersed myself in it.
There you go. And so what led you to first start your own agency?
So I've been working with agencies and companies, obviously in my career, leading brand strategy quite well. I did well in my corporate career, I guess you could call it that. But it got to the point where it was less meaningful for me. Working with massive brands where the goal is to spend the budget. And one of the brands I was working with was Toyota. You're spending tens of millions a month. And does it move the needle, or are you just maintaining current market share, right? Yes, there's strategy involved, but I'd moved to LA at the time, and I was meeting brand owners in the fashion space, in the CPG space, and I saw a real opportunity to partner with those brands and leverage all my expertise within digital marketing to accelerate their growth in a way that, whereas Toyota going from however many hundreds of billions market share, you could take a brand from 100K a month in Shopify revenue to 500K. That has a massive impact on the brand, on those people's lives. So the initial intent was, I want to be more impactful to people and brands with the knowledge that I had.
There you go. And of course, running your own show and being your own boss kind of is fun, right?
Yeah. I was never very good with authority, to be honest with you. So it definitely helps. Yeah,
there you go.
Helps.
Well, that's how I've been since 18. I don't work well with others, at least not they're supposed to be above me. You have to be smarter than me to be above me, and you better be pretty goddamn smart.
The actual thing it was I wanted to be able to move at a greater speed. Right? When you're in bigger companies and there's people above you, your ideas have to go through 10 rounds of approvals, and big companies don't move quickly. So it's really nice being able to come up with an idea in the morning and do it in the afternoon, and no one kind of stop that.
Yeah, you don't have some idiot going, whatever. So with your company, Mid Performance Marketing, what do you guys do? Give us an overview of 30,000 feet sort of view of how you guys do it and what you do for clients.
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned it in the intro, but we're a full service agency. We've got an office in LA, office in New York, and an office in England as well. We work with Shopify-based e-commerce brands, mainly in the fashion, CPG, beauty, health, and wellness verticals. And our entire mission is to accelerate their growth. We have a model that we call scale and sustain. So it's customer acquisition, customer retention in harmony, right? Because you're scaling your brand through acquisition, but you need sustainable growth, which is the retention of those customers once you've acquired them. So that's our focus. We, from a service perspective, we do UGC creative, which is big in the space now, especially, with social platforms being a main acquisition channel, influencer marketing, paid social, search, affiliates, and retention marketing.
Sounds like you guys cover the full gambit of online marketing these days.
Yeah, we do. And it was really intentional when I set up the agency, because again, coming from the background that I had, it was always really baffling to me that these brands would have 20 different agencies for all the things they need to do, and none of those agencies talked because they weren't really incentivized to do so, right? You're incentivized for you to perform and for you to have as much budget in your agency as possible. So we're able to be a bit more agnostic with our services because we don't care whether paid social or search or influencers are performing best for you. We want to deliver whatever service under our scope is driving the most meaningful results. And so that it was very intentional that it was a full service agency, so that you got one team driving all those aspects. It provides such efficiency benefits, performance benefits, and also you got, from a brand standpoint, you've got one vendor to manage versus all these different agencies who don't talk to each other, and you've got to try and make sense of it all from an internal brand perspective.
There you go. What do you, and you may have already just described some of it, but what do you feel really differentiates your agency from others?
I think there's a couple of things. I think the full service aspect, the way we position things from a really integrated growth team. So we have growth strategists who they oversee all of the channels and all the teams running the different channels. They're the person who's coming and working with the brands, whether it's the owner or their CMO, of like actually building the strategy based on all the data. And then they pull the levers internally as to which channel mix, understanding performance, real data analysis. So I think that component isn't unique to us, but I think we do it really well. I think the other thing is, an agency is only as good as its people. And we have some of the smartest people in this space working at the agency, which we're very grateful for. So, talent mixed with positioning, mixed with, this isn't our first rodeo. We're all experts in this space. I think a combination or a mix of the three is what's allowed us to, work with the brands we work with and achieve the results we've achieved.
There you go. So what do you see as where's the hottest place to advertise with the best ROI right now? Or I don't know if you want to share the secrets. So I'm not asking for your secret sauce, but what platforms or venues are doing the best right now in your mind?
As much as there's a lot out there about Facebook ads not working anymore, we don't see that. So I think if you're not on every channel already, I would say from an acquisition standpoint, from an advertising perspective, Meta is a great platform. You can achieve results on there. We're very active on TikTok from an ad perspective as well. But I would say, I'd reframe the question so much as if I was a brand looking to improve my marketing and look at what channels are performing, I think a combination of, you really have to have the right creative testing is one of the key elements. Everything that you do as a brand has some level of creative other than maybe SMS marketing, which is just text. So having a really robust creative testing framework or platform is really important. And then testing Meta, testing TikTok, testing these different channels, seeing which one produces the best return. But I'm also really big on people not having a leaky bucket, right? Before you pump money into advertising, your website needs to be optimized for data capture, for conversion rates. You need to have a really buttoned up email and SMS strategy so that you can monetize people who come to your site, show interest, subscribe, but maybe don't purchase initially, so you can actually capture them and monetize them. So leaky bucket first, then turn on the taps from an acquisition standpoint.
That makes sense. What's funny is I go to so many people's websites, company I'm considering doing something with, and I'll be like, well, let's see what they're doing on social, because they don't have much data or something on their website. But I'm like, let's look and see what they're doing on social. And so I'll click on the buttons on their website to see what their Facebook and Twitter is, and no one's ever connected it has like the original whatever WordPress they bought or just got for free.
Yeah.
But they've never connected them. Or what's even
Yeah.
worse is like when you go and the account's suspended, like the Twitter account suspended that they've linked to, or the Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
that's not a
wow,
good look.
man, that wow. You can't even manage this shit and you want my money? I don't know about that. TikTok seems to be a place that's really kind of, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's a very hot space, at least in consumer usage right now. How's it doing for ad placement?
It is really hot. One of the main reasons, I mean, obviously popularity of people posting content on there, but from a marketing standpoint, it still has a really high level of organic reach, which every platform has to begin with, and it declines because they want you to pay for achieving the same levels of reach. So TikTok is kind of in its heyday of organic reach. So you can jump on, post organic content, and you see you can reach a level of scale that you maybe can't if you did the same thing on other more mature platforms. So it's a huge opportunity for brands. I think from a one-to-one acquisition performance standpoint, we see some really strong performance and we see some not so strong performance. But what is consistent for either of those scenarios is the halo effect of brand awareness is considerable. So you might not see that the same level of one-to-one attribution in TikTok as maybe you do in some other platforms, especially if it's a new channel for you. Although that is definitely achievable, and we do see that. But even if you're not seeing as strong performance, the halo effect of more brand awareness, brand searches, everything else, and how it can have a positive impact on other platforms and other metrics, we definitely see that across the board.
That's awesome. My mom just discovered TikTok, I think 2 nights ago. She messaged me that a friend had sent her a TikTok video, and then she was about to go to bed, and she ended up standing at her computer, she said, watching 2 hours of TikToks. She got, sucked right into that scroll. And I've been there. I've done 4 hours. Sometimes at night, you're like, I'll just watch one more. I'll watch some as I fade off to sleep. And then 4 a.m. comes around and you're like, what the hell? And it's something else. And there's some really great content there. Like it's the short form content, and some of it's really brilliant, some of it's really awful. But and then the lives.
That's called the death scroll, by the way. Where you just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
And it's just and the Gen Zers love it, so it's their platform and everything else. One of the things that your agency deals with is influencer marketing, and I think you guys have something called Mint Creators. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we do influencer marketing. We've done that since day one. Mint Creators is something slightly different. So the distinction there is influencers, we're partnering with people who what we're trying to do is tap into their community. So influencers by nature have influence over the people that follow them on social media platforms, right? So they have an audience. So we work with a lot of influencers because we're trying to tap into their communities. We use that content within paid ads because you can target those communities. You can also run those ads from that influencer. So there's some real social proof and validation that is associated to doing those sorts of tactics. Mint Creators is something slightly different. What that is if you look at these social platforms, the way we think about creative for ads is the content has to feel native to the platform. Because to your point, if you're scrolling through TikTok and you come across maybe like a TV style ad, it's going to feel out of place. Now that might stop you in your tracks so that you look at it, or it might put you off and be like, I don't want to see that. I want to see something that feels like I'm on TikTok. And so UGC Creative is where we're partnering with creators for the pure purpose of producing really good ad content. And that's what Mint Creators is. So they don't have an audience per se or an influence. We're not trying to tap into their communities. We just partner with them to produce really good ad content for our brands to then run in our paid social campaigns.
Ah, nice. And so influencer marketing is still a thing then, huh?
It's definitely still a thing. I think it's actually funny because influencer marketing has been around since the beginning of online advertising. It just maybe wasn't called influencer marketing 10, 15 years ago. We probably just called it partnerships, but it's definitely still a thing. I think where brands maybe haven't seen success is really understanding how to partner with the right influencers, and also how to really work with those influencers to produce the right content that's going to engage with their communities, and you can then use that as an extension of your brands.
There you go. Well, this has been pretty insightful. What else do you see as the future, this coming year or the next few years in marketing? Is there any pioneering things you see on the horizon that are coming our way?
Pioneering things. I mean, dare we talk about AI? I don't know if we should.
Let's talk about AI, Chat GPT. That seems to be the hot thing everyone's talking about.
It is. I mean, I did a podcast the other day where we were talking about that. My take on it is we're using it within our team, because we write ad copy, email copy, landing page copy. I think it's a really powerful tool for volume and ideation. You still need somebody to oversee it. You need somebody to put the right inputs to get the right outputs and then QA them and make sure they are relevant. But it's definitely a tool we are testing and using. I've used it for some ideation for LinkedIn posts, but it requires that human element to then refine. It's the same as like algorithms, right? Facebook and all these platforms, they're all built on algorithms, but algorithms work better with humans overseeing them.
They do.
I kind of feel the same about AI and ChatGPT in the context of how a marketers and brands going to use it.
We had a guest on recently. We talked to them about, I think it was Kevin Peterson. We talked to them about Chat GPT, and everyone's kind of running around freaking out, going, "Oh God, we're going to lose her." Copywriters and different people are going to lose stuff. I mean, I've been thinking, like, are people going to start writing books with Chat GPT? And you'll be like, did he write that book? Or, you kind of look down on certain books that are ghost written a little bit. At least I do.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, I wrote mine and blood, sweat, and teared it. So yeah, if you got somebody else to write your book on a ghost thing, I'm gonna give you an eye of shame. I mean, it's not the meant that you're not brilliant, but one thing he mentioned is it's kind of going to become to a point with maybe Chat GPT where it gets you 85% of the way there, like it writes some copy for you. And really the refocus of what your job's going to be is just being a more powerful editor. And so not only as a creator, you're going to be, plugging it in the way you want to plug it in, which is a human customization. And so, it's still the human who makes the request, even like on some of the artwork I've been seeing. I forget the name of some of the Mid-Journey, I think it is. As a creator, or as a human being, you have to put in the inputs of what you want it to come out. It can't read your mind, and I don't know, maybe it will eventually become autonomous to where it can think as it wants. Well, I'll just make this up. Which then Skynet comes and Terminator and all that good stuff. The Boston Dynamic robots turn on us, as we all know. Just kidding, Boston Dynamics, don't sue me. So not only are we the creators of the input, but we're just gonna have to spend a little more time editing because I think I was reading this morning, there was something that they got Chat GPT to write about psychology or something along those lines, and a lot of it was wrong. Like it was collecting bad data or crappy data that there's everyone's got a different opinion on the web. If you haven't been on Twitter lately, or TikTok, and so we're just going to become more powerful editors. So do you kind of see that with what you guys are doing with ads, and do we need to be concerned? Do you think, like, one of the things I'm concerned about is there seems to be a lot of ways to try and identify what's been written in AI and negate that. Like maybe even Google's kind of looking at like maybe we need to knock this down a peg or two. If it seems to be AI, ChatGPT put out a tool that you can use to identify if it's done by AI. How do you see the whole playing out? Where is there just a lot more editing involved?
I totally agree with that take. You still need someone to make the inputs, and I think that's a really good kind of take on it. Is it's going to make you a better editor. I think it can get you, like you said, 75-80% there, but you still have to edit it. I think transparency around something that's written by AI makes sense. One of my questions, and to your point, is it's like, and I'm not some expert on how the back end of all this is working. I'll profess to that. But you come into a place of, like you said, where's it sourcing its data from? What's the validity check on that data? And also copyright issues. If me and you go on to ChatGPT and type in the same prompt, and then we post that as in like individual pieces of work, and it's the same, you get into copyright infringement potentials. I think there's a lot that it needs to do to progress to kind of solve some of those issues. But I mean, for now, I think it's fun to test it, use it, play about with it. We're at the start of it, which is exciting. You see what I mean? I'm like, no one was talking about this 6 months ago from a broader perspective, and now everyone's kind of talking about it, especially within my kind of circles. So I think we'll see it evolve. There's definitely some gaps and some queries in my head around the copyright element, the validity of information. But for what we use it for, if I'm honest with you, it does a really good job of broadening ideation for our editors to then narrow down through that editing process.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever written a book, editing is almost more of the work than writing the book.
Yeah. Not yet. But I won't use a ghostwriter now I've spoken to you, because
don't do it. Write your own book. I mean, you can. I don't mean to shame anybody who is used. I do mean to shame people who use ghostwriters. Sorry, I wrote my book and it was painful, and the editing was even more painful. It's just I remember calling my friends who were book authors, and I was at the point where I was starting to write madly. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. I was at the shining moment with my book, and my friends were like, "Oh, if you're at that moment, don't throw it out the window. You're at the perfect moment. That means you're almost there." And I'm like, "The hell with you people! I'm gonna murder everyone." But I got through it, and it was important I did, because now I've got that callus that I can do the thing. But no, it's you bring up something really interesting that I think I'll be talking about more: transparency, and here's the other word: disclosure. Because I mean, on my website, I have to. Was there like an FCC disclosure? I think I have to have for affiliate marketing, and I know there's something at the bottom that I'm required to have, and I believe all website or marketers have the FCC disclosure on how we receive products and promote them, and kind of a disclosure that our copyright, of course, is down at the bottom of the website. But maybe that needs to be one of the things that we create either a law on with the FCC, where if you use an AI bot to generate your content, you need to have disclosure. You need to say this is, we're seeing all these lawsuits now from the fallout of FTX and some of the crypto promotion. You saw that with the event promotion with influencers. A lot of influencers now are getting sued and brought into legal things because they endorsed either crypto products, or what was the Fire Festival, if you remember that, what a big fallout that was for influencers. And now we're seeing more and more lawsuits. We're seeing like SEC getting involved, where they're like, hey, you were encouraging an investment vehicle and you broke the investment vehicle rules of disclosure and stuff. So maybe that's what we need to all decide to do. Or, hey, if you use ChatGPT or an AI sort of generator, you have to disclose that person created this data, as opposed to the thing and have full transparency.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing with the digital world, isn't it? It's it's those disclosures, transparency, and also whenever data is involved, what is happening with that data. So I totally agree with you that, you know, there will need to be more done around that transparency disclosure piece, because people will demand it, and the regulatory boards are super hot on that sort of stuff. So expect some red tape around some of these things.
I would think it should be important that we do that, because it can discern the difference between whatever. I don't know. Maybe there's I'm trying to think of what the argument is on the other side of why not to do that. You know, but transparency, especially with brands, is really important. I mean, if you're let's create a scenario. I mean, your brand. Let's just throw Nike in the mix. Your brand like Nike, and you start using Chat GPT, and it doesn't either sound organic or feel organic. And it comes out that you were running fake copyright. Is that going to hurt the brand? What do you think? Is that going to create a blowback, or are people just going to go, whatever, it's computers, whatever?
I mean, I think especially for a brand like Nike, it definitely would. You know, any level of lack of transparency, I think for any brand is a negative. So I think disclosing it, I can't see the benefits of not having transparency, because if you're using it, then you're okay using it. So there should be some level of transparency within that, right?
I wonder if we'll run into this whole sort of cancel culture, we caught you sort of thing that would turn bad for brands, where they're like, oh, you know, you're using computers to write your ad copy. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I'm asking that question. I'm curious, but I imagine ethics is the big word to really think about in transparency. And are we doing this we're just writing, blasting out a copy? I think your copyright issue, your concern is another factor as well, in making sure you're not picking up other people's copyright thing. When I first got into social media and Twitter and everything, I didn't understand what a copyright was. I never worked in a business that dealt with copyright, and there's many pitfalls to it where, especially if you don't understand copyright in and of itself. But I think most big brands do. But I mean, maybe there could be some sort of call out where they go, hey, you're creating fake whatever. I don't know. It seems kind of like you're using humans instead of robots. I don't know. Maybe that's the big backlash is. Is this human or robot? I mean, is anybody concerned whether a human or a computer writes their ads for them? I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thought to think through, because there's so many different things, like you mentioned, that we've got to answer these questions with this new pioneer future of technology, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I agree. It's going to be interesting to watch how it evolves. And in the meantime, we're using it, we're testing it, but for now, it's not replacing. It's just allowing us to have more tools to our tool belt.
Yeah, and the some of the Mid-Journey stuff and the AR art is interesting as well, and I imagine that's going to find its way into digital advertising. I know that already there's been interesting things going on with it, where it's won certain awards in like art contests, and people have been really pissed that a non-human won an award. But it's interesting to say, and I've seen the art. I've got a few friends that are really into the space of AI and AR art, and of course the Chat GPT stuff. The art's really interesting. I mean, it really is interesting, and it's very customizable from some idiot like me who, if I do art, I draw you stick figures that look awful, and I can't even do stick figures right when I play Hangman. But you Gen Zs will have to look up what that is. It's someone like me could go in to the AI program and create some beautiful, interesting art. Some of it's very unique and very personal. Like, and I've seen people create just like, take all the Star Wars characters and put them into steampunk sort of characters, and you're just like, wow, and it's really good.
Yeah.
You're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. So
Yeah.
there might be some interesting spin for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole Web3 space is super interesting.
Yeah.
You look at NFTs, you look at the stuff that Meta's doing in the Web3 space. I think like there's a long way to go before it's like broadly used by the general consumer, if I'm honest. And I don't know if I don't know if I love the direction it's going in to say that you're going to have a fully digitalized life. Maybe I'm too old, but I have a 12-year-old daughter, and I don't know if I'd love her to live her entire life online through an online avatar. But it does open up some interesting opportunities in my world for brand marketing and creating communities around, your consumers and stuff. So
interesting, man. Interesting stuff. Well, what do you think about the NFT space? I mean, it kind of seems to have crashed a little bit with crypto. Is that a correct assessment, or am I wrong on that?
Yeah. I got some friends who are building really good companies in the Web3 and NFT space. I got into NFTs quite early on. I had one successful, when it was just buying JPEGs, it was more like a trading kind of like boom, right? Where people were hearing about, you can buy a digital image and then sell it for however much of a multiple. So I think like that bubble definitely burst, and it correlated, like you said, with the downward trend of crypto in general. But I think that was an artificial bubble of just people thinking it was there to make a quick buck. I think the actual utility within NFTs is really exciting in the long term when you can connect a digital token to offline. I think just as an online token, I think that doesn't hold much weight these days. The trading aspect, it seemed very gamified. But there's some really cool stuff being done. A friend of mine actually has a company called Indelible. It's bringing the worlds of tattoo culture and NFT art together. So he's partnering with all the world's best tattoo artists, creating NFT collections around that. For that, you get offline experiences and offline benefits. Do you see what I mean? So that to me is the real utility of NFTs specifically going forward versus just buying and trading digital JPEGs to try and make profit.
Definitely, and reselling them, and it's probably better to have those experiences you can get from the side. I can see a lot of brands liking that. Well, Daniel, it's been wonderful to have you on. Anything more you want to tease out about your company, what you guys do, and how you do it?
I appreciate that, Chris. It's been a pleasure. I would just say if you are a brand, an e-commerce brand, and you're looking to work with a marketing partner, maybe you're looking to scale, maybe you need some new ideation, hit us up, Mint-Performance Marketing, or find me on LinkedIn. But Chris, really appreciate you having me on. Enjoyed the chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've really enjoyed having you on. You give me a whole lot more stuff to think about. I hadn't really thought about the copyright stuff yet, and the transparency, disclosure, and ethics behind it all is definitely something I think everyone needs to talk about and explore. And we all need to make a collective decision as to what we do with this, and do we need to disclose it? Does it need to be transparent? I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a whole battle between AI and humans. Like humans need to unite and stop the AI monster. I don't know, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much, Dan, for coming on the show. Thanks to my audience for tuning in. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. All those crazy places we are on the internet. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.